There are people who run to escape, people who run to prove something. And then there are people
who don't run at all.
Well, yeah, people who don't run at all, like you. Well, you run. And there are people who run because they were born to carry heavy things. Bri Santos is one of those people. She's a mother of 7.
How many?
7. Let that land. 7 children, some with special needs, all raised with a love that doesn't clock out and a strength that doesn't negotiate. While most of us are juggling calendars and craving comfort, she's
eating
logging
on the couch.
80-mile training weeks. She's not eating on the couch. She's running 80 miles a week between doctor's appointments, school pickups, and late night tears that no one else sees. And she's not just surviving it. She's thriving in it. Wow. Winning ultras, something that I can't do. Tackling 100-mile races, something I can't do. It's a calling. Smiling through the storm, leading by example. She is proof that endurance isn't about pace. It's about presence. It's about showing up when no one's clapping. It's about redefining what strength looks like when life hands you more than you think you can carry.
Oh my God.
This isn't just an episode. It's a masterclass in courage, consistency, and the power of women who refuse to wait for permission. Bri Santos doesn't ask, "Can I?" She says, "Watch me." Cue that intro.
This is going to be a good one.
Who says you need to fly to reach the top? Keep beating your block till your feet are hot. Get your head out the sand. Join the flock. It's okay to run scared. We enjoy the lie.
Welcome back to the Ostrich Running Podcast. I'm your host, Nick Meraz, and with me, as always, Jarrett the Juice Horton.
I'm here.
Well, today, listen, if you ever needed a reminder of what it means to push limits, to lead with love, to run with purpose, well, you're in the right place. We've got a guest who lives at the intersection of grit and grace. Now, she's a mom of 7, an ultra runner.
Did you say 7?
7. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And an ultra runner. And someone who makes every mile mean something. Bri Santos is here with us today, and I promise you that this conversation is going to leave you inspired, fired up, and maybe even questioning what excuses you've been making. Juice.
I don't have any excuses now.
Yeah, you better not have an excuse after this. Welcome to the show, Bri. Please introduce yourself to our listeners, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. So I'm a wife, I'm a mom, as you said, of 7. I'm an ultra runner, and I'm just working to push my limits every day and see what's possible and really just get some alone time for myself. That's really what the goal is.
The whole point of it?
Yeah, get some alone time.
You can't put us on blast like that, okay? I'm just kidding. I know, I agree. Kind of how I found running too was to find that mental clarity space, right? Especially, with my history of, everything that I was going through.
Is that why you guys run longer and longer distances?
I think so.
More
At times,
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is there 36 hours? Is there 48 hours? Yes, please sign me up for that one. Right. Yeah. So that's awesome.
The crazy.
Yeah. Call me crazy. It's okay. I just need a little bit of a break because if we're there, oh my gosh, I can only imagine 7 kids too. So you describe yourself as a mother and an ultra runner. Let's just start there. How did each of those identities find their way into your life? How did you become the mother of 7, and when did the ultra running start for you?
So I have 4 biological kids and 3 adoptive kids.
Oh, cool.
So we had 4 kids in 4 years. So my kids are very close in age, and then we were asked to take in 3 additional children. And we had 4 kids under 4 at the time. And we thought, absolutely not. Our hands are full. There's no way we can take in 3 additional children.
Were they all related?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're all okay.
Yeah. And they were related to me, but we didn't know them. And we were told it was a pretty bad situation. And we thought, well, we can't take them in, but we have plenty of kids things. We'll just stop by and we'll just take some supplies to them. And then we showed up with the supplies, and we met them and we saw like the situation they were living in. And me and my husband kind of looked at each other, and my husband was like, "We're taking these kids." And I was like, "Yeah,
there's
I know."
no way. Oh my God. Bless you
And
guys.
like that was kind of the end of it. And like initially we were like, well, it'll just be temporary. And we took them home, and like we like within like 2 days they were calling us mom and dad. And my oldest daughter was like, "Why are we not in any of the family pictures at the house?" And I was like, I don't know. You know, sorry. I'll get on that.
She's like, "You better get me up on this wall right now."
Right.
Yeah. And so we had a legal guardianship of them for about 1.5 years. And then my oldest daughter asked if we could adopt them. And she said, you know, that she wanted to have the same last name. She wanted to make it permanent. She wanted to never worry about like things changing or them leaving. And so we went ahead and we moved forward with finalizing adoption. And so we did that in 2020. We actually just celebrated our 5-year adoption anniversary this week.
Congratulations.
So
wow. That is beautiful. I mean, did you and your husband just look at each other at that moment and just knew right away, thinking the same thing, like, we can't leave him, let's do this? Did it just click, like unspoken, just eye contact? Yeah.
It was
That's
like,
amazing. They were on the same page.
We're going to do that. We don't know how we're going to afford this. We don't know how we're going to make it work, but it's going to happen. And this is what we're going to do. So.
How many couples would instantly be on the same page like that? That's amazing.
I mean, it's incredible. And I think it's just says a lot about your character and who you both who you both are. That's such a beautiful thing, and good for you. What's that been like? So you said you started with 4 children under the age of 4, about a year apart. What's the age difference of your family now between all the kids? Are they all similar in age, or is there expand over a few years?
So my oldest is 17, and then I have a 14-year-old, then a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, 9-year-old, and 2 8-year-olds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And you found out they're related on your side or his side?
They're on my side.
On your side.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
Very cool.
Yeah.
You're still taking care of family. That's great. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
We had 2 kids back to back, about maybe 14 months apart. And that was crazy for me. And I'm like, no more. I can't. It's like, it's so wild.
They're 15 months apart. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's insane. Just good on you. I mean, I have probably a fraction of that. Right. But, knowing what it takes to have 2 kids that close in age, and then having this dream to be an ultra runner and, putting in those miles, it's a lot of work, right? I mean, especially planning.
Where do you find the time?
Like, how do you, let me do everything before everybody wakes up? Do you guys have, support, for your training? How do you approach training with a full household?
So at first I started running in 2020 because when COVID hit, my husband was deployed. And suddenly it was like, wow, everything is shut down. School is canceled. I'm alone with all of the kids, and I have special needs children too. So, it was like therapies are canceled. Nobody is coming to the house. My nurses can't come because my youngest son, he has autism. He has ADHD. He has, a feeding tube and stuff like that. So it was like, we're not getting any help. We're not getting any services for him. And I was like, I'm extremely stressed. I have so much anxiety. And I was like, I just need to get out of the house. I need to do something. So it started with, I'm just going to like sneak out of the house for a little bit of time and just go for a run on base, so I can have a minute to myself. So I was like, I'm just going to go out for like 1 or 2 miles to relieve some stress. Then I would go out for like 1 or 2 miles and I'd be like, well, I'm still stressed. I need longer. And so then it would be like, I need a little bit longer, a little bit longer, a little bit longer. And in the meantime, I'm like a total ultra nerd. So I would listen to all the podcasts, I would read all the books, and I would, read and hear about people running 100 miles and things. And I thought, that's amazing. I could never do that with my family. There's no way, because I would always hear and read about people running like 20 miles a day. And I was like, I don't have time to do that. There's no way I could train like that with my family.
Yeah.
And it actually was like a podcast with Sally McRae where she was talking about when her kids were really little, how she would train was like 4 a.m. before they would get up. She would go for runs, or that she would run on the treadmill while her kids were taking a nap, or she would take her kids to the park and she would just run loops around the park while her kids played. Or sometimes she would have to split her runs up, and that's how she would train for ultras. And I thought, oh, like that's doable. I could totally do that. And I could run 100-milers like that. So I decided, you know what? If she can run ultras like that, then I can run ultras like that. And so that's kind of how I started. In 2020 was just doing things like that, was running at 4 a.m. before my kids would get up, or I would run at 4 a.m. and then I would wait until they would go to bed, like at 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night. And then I'd go out for a second run and run then after they went to bed. And then when my husband came back from deployment, then I kind of continued where it was like, okay, now he's home and I can run a little bit longer. And then in 2022, I ran my first ultra. I ran American River 50. And then once I did that, I was like, okay, I'm ready. I can move on. I can run the 100 miles. And so in 2023, I ran my first 100-miler, and I was like, that's the distance for me. 100 miles. Oh, yep. 100 miles is it. I found my distance. That's what I want to do. 100-milers.
So let me.
Did you grow up athletic?
I was just going to ask, because there's so much to unpack here.
Right.
I never played a single sport growing up. I was a kid that was failing PE, and I was struggling, and I was the kid that was hiding in the bushes when they would run the mile because I didn't want to run it, and I would just pop out at the end and pretend I ran the mile.
So how did you even learn about ultras?
I was just gonna. So that was the next question. I'm glad we're on the same page. Yeah. Because
I didn't even know what an ultra was until I met you.
Yeah, and I didn't even know what an ultra was until I decided to run a marathon. So you're like this proclaimed, nerd of ultras, right? How did you get into that space? What was the first thing that brought you in?
My sister. My sister runs. And my sister, she runs like half marathons. She runs marathons, and she kind of introduced me into it. And she would talk about different things and stuff like that. And I kind of would like, whatever.
Right.
You crazy person. And
that's how I look at him.
And back in college, she had gotten me to run like, I think it was the Disneyland half marathon with her. And I mean, I suffered through it. And I was like, this is insane. Who would want to do this ever again?
That's where I'm at right now. I ran one half marathon, and that's exactly how I feel. Who would want to go further than this?
Yeah, I was like, this is terrible. And then she lives in Pennsylvania, and she runs like the Pennsylvania Marathon every year. And she's a nurse practitioner, and so she does like all of her running and all her training on a treadmill. And which is insane to me. Like still, I think the longest I've ever been on a treadmill is like maybe 6 miles, and I just want to die. I'm like, I've been on here for 3 days, and I'm like, what? It's been 5 minutes. What? No way.
Same story here.
I can't
do the treadmills. No. I think,
treadmill. I was training on a treadmill, but then I went out and ran on a track, and I was tired, and I was like, I'm never doing this treadmill thing again.
Yeah.
Like it was all pointless.
It's not even training me the way I want.
Training me. I just learned how to lift my legs.
And
she has
bounce.
crazy mental stamina. Like she's so tough. But yeah, she kind of would get me into it, and she would talk about different things. But she was talking about like Scott Jurek and different things and stuff like that. So it was during COVID, and I had all this downtime, and I was just really stressed. And so she was like, oh, you should read, Scott Jurek's book and different things like that. So I like read that book, and I was like, wow, this is amazing that people can do these things. And
oh my gosh.
And that kind of just got me into it.
You realize, I mean, you have to acknowledge, right? you started in 2020 and the level you are right now in 5 years is insane, dude.
Yeah, that's
like,
insane.
Your output is wild. I was just like reading some of your questionnaire stuff, and just to accomplish what you accomplished in such a short amount of time. Do you think that, parenting has like given you some sort of superpower in this ability to be so successful in such a short amount of time? What has that brought and taught you?
Absolutely, because it forces me to be extremely focused. I can't waste time. So if I'm going out to train, I'm going out to race. Mm-hmm. I'm going out to finish.
Yeah.
I'm not, if I'm signing up and if I'm paying for a race, like that's money that my family could use. I am not going out to DNF. I'm going out to finish that race. And not only that, like I have the support of my family. My family is extremely supportive of my running. My kids love my running. They go to every race. They're at the finish line of every race. And they're strict coaches. They're very strict coaches. I mean, like I have a race in 2 weeks, and a little bit ago, I'm in the kitchen and I'm getting a snack. They're like, what are you eating? And I was like, oh, I'm just eating some chips. They're like, don't you got a race in 2 weeks? Right. You need to get you a protein shake. Right. So they're strict, and they're like, what are you running this weekend? What miles you got?
That's what you need, Nick.
I know.
They're strict. They're on it. Oh no, they're strict. They're on it. And, when I go out to run and I'll come back, they'll unpack my pack. They help me wash all my dirty laundry. They pick out my outfits for my races. I'm known, out on the trails as Glitter Girl, because when I race, I wear tons and tons of glitter. And so in my daily life, everything is very strict, very organized. I have a very strict schedule. Everything is color coded. Everything is labeled in my house because, you got to be
I don't know
with
how
this
you would
many
survive
kids.
if you didn't have an organizational skill set like that.
Right,
I mean, like, again, I am the light version of what you have, right? I feel like, with the podcast, with the brand, with the kids, I just finished school, but it was the same thing. Like, I'm waking up before everybody wakes up. The one thing I'm missing out is on that run when they're asleep. I probably should be doing that extra run, but I'm not winning races now.
Well, you jam it in during the day. So.
Yeah, I jam it in during the day, and I agree. It's just when you go out, you have the set amount of time, and like specifically this one story with the Crocs, right? I went out and I was just so scatterbrained, but I had a long run, and I normally wear Crocs before I go to a run, and I just change into my shoes in the car and then, do whatever. But I left my shoes at home. I'm like,
unlike any normal person that would go back home.
I'm like, I don't have time to even go back home. I was like, but I need this run in. I'm doing this thing in Crocs right now. and I went 22 miles in Crocs on the trails.
That's insane.
And I was like, but I felt like, dude, I can't miss this run. I need, like, it's your own fault. It's your own fault for like being disorganized and, scatterbrained, but I had to do it. Right. And, that was just something, just to kind of showcase like that minute by minute of a full schedule it really does matter. And I mean, yeah. How do you respond to anything, that throws a wrench in the wheels in your day? Do you just, move it to a later portion or later in the week? Or are you one of those people who like me, I have to get this run done, and no matter what, I'm getting it done?
That's definitely one reason why I run really early first thing, because I never know what's going to pop up in my day. So I'm not somebody who I can be like, oh, well, I'm going to do it in the middle of the day, or plan on, I'm going to run after my kids go to school. Because too many things are unpredictable, especially having special needs children. So
yeah, you could get that call middle of the day, like you need to come pick up your kid, and you're like, oh my gosh.
That's too many times, and it's like, oh shoot, I was going to go to the trails then. Now I can't go. So even if I'm like, oh, I have no appointments today, and all the kids are going to be at school, sorry, I'm still getting up at 3 a.m.
Looks
and I'm
perfect
going for
on
that.
paper, but reality.
It can
You
change
never
it.
know. You never know what's going to pop up. You never know what's going to happen on that day. So if you go at 3 a.m., you got the run done. It's done. It's behind you. And no matter what happens throughout the day, it's already taken care of. But sometimes still things happen. I mean, I had last year, one of my kids stuck a bead in their ear and had to go to the ER, and they were fine, but they said they just wanted to know if it was going to fit. And
Oh my God.
and we had to we couldn't get it out. The ER couldn't get it out. We had to end up putting them under. So the ENT could do a procedure to get it out. And I had to miss training for the next 24 hours while they were trying to get it out. And I was just sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And, one training session missed is not going to make or break a training cycle.
Yeah.
Just one really good training run is also not going to make or break a training cycle. And, that's just part of being a parent.
Or a culmination of, multiple bricks laid down and, building up that thing. So, yeah, I mean, that's crazy. Good on you. I love that.
I mean, this is amazing. Yeah.
Aside from challenges of being a parent to multiple kids with special needs, right? You've mentioned that you also have your own challenges, right? With an ostomy bag, right? Could you, or do you mind, explaining how did this happen? And, that's a whole nother realm, right? I mean,
it's hard enough to run already. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah. So please, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about that.
So I got the ostomy bag in 2020. So when I started running in 2020, initially I did not have it. And part of that came from so I have celiac disease, and I think it really kind of got activated during that initial part of 2020 where I was extremely stressed out, and stress really takes a toll on your body. And I didn't know initially that I had it. And so I was eating a ton of gluten and things and stuff like that, plus the stress. And I was destroying my colon, and I had no idea. And I was coughing up blood, and I was having major digestive issues. And it came to the point where I could not digest anything. And I was on a liquid diet for 5 months. And at that time, you couldn't get into the doctor. You couldn't go places. So by the time I got into the doctor, a huge portion of my colon was just destroyed. And they gave me the option that they could remove that portion of my colon and give me a temporary ostomy bag for a number of years. And then they could see how it goes and let it heal. And then I'd have to do a whole nother surgery and take it out. And then I could go through physical therapy and see if everything would be connected and it would work again. And if not, then I would have to go back and have another surgery, and they'd have to put the ostomy bag back in, or I could just go on ahead and remove the entire colon and get a permanent ostomy bag and then just learn to live with it. And I thought, man, if I already have to have surgery, I don't want to go through it multiple times. I'd rather just take the colon out, put the ostomy bag in, and just move on.
You're I don't have time for this. Don't you see my schedule?
Exactly. I was let's just get on with it. So I was just take the colon, put the ostomy bag in, let's move on. And so I had just started running, and I had just worked up to being able to run 10 miles. And I was dang it, man. So I got the ostomy bag, and I in the hospital, I was so bummed because I was I just started being able to run 10 miles. So right after surgery, I'm in the hospital bed. I get up and I have the IV pull, and I start walking in the hospital. And so I'm walking around. So I'm man, I just worked up to being able to run 10 miles. So I walked around the hospital. Then I had to take a nap. And then I got out of the hospital, and I walked to the end of the street, and then I had to take a nap. And that's what I started doing to I was trying to preserve that endurance that I'd built up. And so I started walking. And so it was I would walk a little bit every day, and I started being able to work up to okay, I walk 3 miles a day. Then it was I walk 3 miles in the morning. Then I walked 3 miles in the afternoon. Then I walked 3 miles in the evening. I was able to work up to I was able to walk 9 miles a day And then when I was released to run, it was like a run walk. But I was able to run walk, and then I was able to go right back to being able to run 10 miles again.
Wow. So you had to retrain yourself completely. Wow.
Yeah. And then I ran my first marathon. So that's why there was that break between I started running in 2020 and I didn't run my first ultra till 2022 because at the end of 2020, I got my ostomy bag. So I kind of had to like start over.
It was really no choice. Like, it was like the only reason why is because it kept me physically on purpose. Like it wasn't a choice, right? It was just like, dude.
Otherwise I would have ran my first ultra in 2021. But it was like, it took me till 2022 to run the first ultra, but I ran my first marathon in 2021. Did
you ever think about quitting at all? Like, was that ever a thought that, I might not ever be able to run again?
No, I was trying to get to that 100 miler.
Yeah, you're like, I'm going to get to it no matter what.
I was like, I'm getting to that 100 mile.
Yeah, right. Different breeds, right? And we see this theme throughout everybody, right? There's just no quit, right? There's a goal, right? We have this goal, and it's just something that drives you in there, and you want to reach that. So I know this guy. What question he'll probably ask after, right?
Oh, it's coming.
So you run the 100. Is there any kind of inclination that you may go for a further run, or is 100 going to be the max, or do you want to just get faster at the 100?
So I knew that was coming because that's what everybody asked me, especially like last year running, because I did back-to-back hundreds where I did, like last year I did Javelina, and then 6 days later I ran Rio de Lago 100. And then this year I ran San Diego. And then 7 days later I ran Full Moon 100. So people are like, oh my gosh, Cocodona, you're ready for the 200 mile. And I said, and they were like, you could do it. And I said, I didn't say that I can't. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah.
And never say never. But for me, and I paced Tahoe 200. Like, it's super cool. I had a great time. Just the same as Badwater. I had so much fun pacing Badwater, but it's just not for me where I'm at right now. It's just, it's not something that I'm passionate about. And, to do any race, you have to want to do it, not just because somebody says you should do it or somebody thinks you should do it. And a 200 miler. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, so a 200 miler is just a totally different experience because you're out there for multiple days. You need a sleep strategy, and then just the planning, the prep, the time away from your family. It's just a whole,
7 days versus 48 hours is a big difference, especially
it's a
with
whole
what you
lot
have
to
going
take
on
with my family. So I said, where I'm at with my family right now, it's just not something I'm interested in. Maybe as my kids get older, because already right now, from like when I started running and things like that, like it's so much easier now. Like when I started, where I was like, oh, I got to get up at 4 a.m. and, I had to be so much more strategic with my running. And now, like, my kids are older. I've been running, and when I started, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to fit in a 40-mile week. And now it's like I regularly run 80-mile weeks, and it's no big deal. And it's like nothing. And then I can run a 100-mile week, and it's not a big deal because we kind of have we have a routine down. My kids know I'm going to go run. They know I'm gone every week and running. And for me to go out for a 5-6 hour run, my kids already know, oh, mom's running, her phone's off. I'm not gonna be able to reach her till she gets back running.
Yeah.
They already kind of know the routine, and stuff like that. So they're getting older. They kind of know. So, maybe one day, but just right now, I'm not interested. Right now, I just want to do harder and harder 100 milers.
So with the colostomy bag, is it? Oh yeah. What is it like preparing?
Mm-hmm.
What is it like preparing? Like, is it a completely different experience, or?
So at first, that was the hardest part was the trial and error, is really trying to figure out what can I eat on the run, what is going to go bad. And at first I was just really scared to eat anything when I ran. And I learned that the hard way. So my first marathon, I just decided, I don't want to have any accidents when I run. So I am going to fast the day before the marathon. I'm going to eat nothing during the marathon, and I'm going to drink nothing during the marathon. And you can see how that probably went for anybody who's ran.
Oh my God.
I made it to mile 25, and then I was running past a ditch, and I was trying to figure out when do I have an opportunity to throw myself in this ditch when nobody is looking? Then I don't have to say I didn't quit the marathon. Everybody will be like, of course she didn't finish because she fell in a ditch. Right. And I never got the opportunity because everybody was around. So I had to finish. And then somebody explained to me that's what bonking is. Yeah. So I had to learn how to eat, and I had a lot of times where it was like, that food is no good for me. Whoa, that's no good. That is no good. Oh no, that's no good. And so now, I've kind of figured out what works for me, what doesn't work for me. I still have a lot of times where it's like, oh, I thought that was going to go good. It didn't go good. And so now what I brag about to people is, when I race, I can just poop and keep running while I'm pooping. And as an ultra runner, I mean, that's a huge benefit. I can poop while I'm running and I don't have to stop. So, you know, that's great while you're racing. But that's really like the trickiest part while I'm racing is I don't have issues with blisters ever. I don't have issues with cramping. It always comes down to while I'm racing is my stomach. Like I have to be very careful. Like, I don't really eat at the aid stations. I bring my own food. And just trying to figure out what's going to work with my stomach and whatnot.
Yeah, you have to be mindful of what you're putting in your body because of celiac, right? Like, I mean, most of the thing that everybody's eating at the aid station would probably just flare up and just be so terrible for you, right? Like, you can't, you know, go in and enjoy what a normal trail aid station would be like for most of us, right? That's wild. I think it's, dude, just backtracking a few, 25 miles on nothing with fasting. You bonked at 25 miles. Crazy. That is insane.
That's something I would have tried though.
I feel myself bonked.
And no water either because I was like, I don't want to have to go to the bathroom. So it just goes to show, like I had no idea what I was doing. You know? Yeah,
he's the faster, and he's like, why do you eat before you run? He's like, I can't eat anything.
I would not eat, but.
Yeah, but then I'm the complete opposite. I'm that guy who's like eating all day and just, I don't know. I mean, I have a terrible diet.
I feel like I can't run on a full stomach.
I can run on a full stomach,
right?
But I think I also have had to train to run on a full stomach to be, at least in my position, to be successful and not bonk, right? But yeah, I'm definitely. I
don't recommend it.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. Yeah. Dude, so wild. So. I know that in the questionnaire, you also mentioned at one of the last races, right, you had a problem with that bag where, you know, you were struggling with it. I mean, just the bag alone, it could have issues, right? So what's the story behind that? What happened there?
I've had that actually at a couple. So like my very first 100 miler I ran, I'd never gone that distance before. And so the bag is glued to your skin. And I'd never ran that far before, so I didn't know, like, the glue was not going to last through 100 miles of just running and sweating and stuff like that. And so the glue started to come off my skin around 60 miles, and I was not prepared for that. So the glue started to rip off my skin, and so my skin was, like, open and bleeding. And so I had to run like another 20 miles before I could see my crew just running, holding it on while my skin was like ripped open and bleeding.
Oh my gosh, dude.
And so since then I learned like, okay, I need to like put extra like bag, like an extra ostomy bag and like set up in my drop bags and things. But I had an issue last year where I decided like, I'm going to start crewing myself and I'm not going to have a crew. And I ran Fire Trails 100K and I ended up winning, but I was so used to having a crew where I hadn't been putting that stuff in my drop bags because I was like, oh, my crew has it. Yeah. And when I went to go crew myself, I had that issue, the same issue. And I went to go get it from my drop bag and I realized I didn't pack anything in my drop bag because I was used to my crew having it. Mm-hmm. And now I decided not to have a crew because I was like, I got it on my own. And then I was like, oh no, I don't got it on my own. And I had to run over 30 miles and I'm like running and trying to text somebody to see if somebody can drive from home and meet me somewhere on the trail to drop me off ostomy things. And I'm like and I have like blood dripping down my side and I'm like crying and I'm running and
still running.
And still running.
How do you
I'm
push
trying to
you?
hold off like the second place female at the same time.
Yeah.
And, it was a mess.
Dude, she won. And then that's the DC Fire Trail one, right?
Yeah.
And you ended up being first female finisher, right?
Yeah, and then I finished, and I was like, was like crying at the end. I was told my kid like, I could have been faster. I didn't have that
how do you push through this pain? Like, where does that come from?
Yeah,
especially not being an athlete growing up. Where do you?
Maybe you were always intended to be an athlete, and you just didn't know it at that age, right? You like just the stories that you're telling me. There was an athlete in there, so
I mean, most people get to pain and they can't push through it. I mean, to push through that and still run 30 miles after.
Yeah, we normally crave comfort, right? And when at the first moment of pain, we flee.
People pull a muscle and they stop.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, I'm good. I'll just get it on the next one when I feel perfect. What I know you mentioned it's like the financial investment and the time investment, right? But still, it's just
to rip and be bleeding for that long is incredible.
Yeah, is there
definitely
some
not a natural athlete for sure? Because I have to work really hard to like keep up with like my friends that are natural athletes. I would say I do have like a strong threshold for pain, and even like before I started running, I mean, I had all my kids with no pain medication. Like I have a strong threshold for pain. And I mean, like right now I have 2 rotator cuff tears and I just started physical therapy and they were like, oh, that's so weird. Like, when did this happen? I was like, well, it's actually been bothering me for over a year, but I'd never mentioned it because like who needs a shoulder to run? And so like, I said, I thought I should mention it because it's the hand I hold my water bottle in and I started not being able to like put my jacket on by myself. And then I was like, oh, I should probably do something about this. And they were like, what? And they were like,
you realize that this has been torn for 20 something years. And you're, oh, okay.
And I was like, oh, I should maybe do something about this now. And they were like, that's not normal. And I was like, you just kind of like deal with stuff. And I was like, it's like the normal level of pain. And they're like, the normal level of pain is like nothing. So yeah, I definitely have like a strong like threshold for pain. So generally, like I'm like, if I say something is in pain, like it's probably pretty bad.
Yeah.
But I would just chalk it up to like in situations like that, like stubbornness. And in those situations, I realized like I could sit down and quit and be like, this sucks, but then I'm just stuck on the trail. Like that's not going to get me there fast. Like I'm just like, what are you going to do in the middle of a race? Like you can sit and cry about it, or you can just keep going and get there, faster. And that's usually what I figure in those situations. Like this sucks, but the faster I get there, like the sooner it'll be over with.
Because quitting's not an option.
Yeah.
So exactly. Quitting's not an option. So just get it done faster and then it'll be over with.
You're in a lot of pain. You better run faster so it could be over, which hurts even more.
Keep going now.
And that's what my kids have told me. Like I've come into an aid station before and I'm crying and I'm like, it's hard, it hurts, and they're like, okay, well, you should probably keep going then.
Cool. Get out there, Mom.
My husband, he tells me the same thing. I had one race I DNF'd a couple years ago. That's the thing with having a lot of kids is there's always something going on around in my house. And I've run a couple of races sick, and I had, my first 100K a couple years ago. I was like really sick and I had trained really hard for it. And in hindsight, I shouldn't have ran the race. I shouldn't have ran the race because I was sick, but I was like, I didn't want to miss the race because I was sick, but it had really tight cutoffs and I was sick and I was not making those cutoffs. I was too sick. And he's like sending me a text message. He's like, hey, you're getting really close to the cutoff. And I'm like, I'm coming, I'm trying. And he goes, his message says, maybe just run a little faster.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what do you think I'm trying to do? You know? But yeah, that's just kind of like, that's my family's approach.
Mentality.
But yeah, I had a race earlier this year, and I came in and like to an aid station, and I look at my 9-year-old and I'm like, this is really hard. I don't know why I do this. And he goes, you know, you could run a shorter distance. And I said, I know, I don't know why I picked this. And he goes, you won't though, because you don't suck. Go back out there. And I'm like, okay.
Dang. Sometimes we just need a 9-year-old perspective to just like remind us like, yeah, you're right.
Right.
And that's what I always think about for that DNF, like that one DNF that I had when I came back home, and my kids were like, why are you here? We didn't make it to the finish yet. And I was like, I didn't finish. And they were like, why? And I said, I missed the time cutoff. I wasn't fast enough. And they were like, why didn't you just run faster? And I was like, I couldn't. And they were like, and my 9-year-old, you know, he was like 7 at the time, and he goes, so all that training for nothing? And, you know, you're like already heartbroken. You're like, and I'm like, crying. You know,
limping in the house, bleeding.
He's like, no, not for nothing. You know, all the training she did, it'll be good for something else and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, did you get a medal? And I'm like, no. And he goes, so for nothing. And, and, you know, my husband's like, no. And he goes, for nothing.
But I love that because my daughter is brutal like that too, right? So I haven't completed the 100-mile distance yet, right? My first attempt was hobbling 100 last year, but much like you, I went into that race with the flu because in that household, right, my daughter just had given me whatever she had. I'm diarrhea and puking in the tent the night before the race starts. I'm like, I've been training all year for this. This is all I've wanted to do. I'm going out there and running it. 62 miles. I couldn't even stand up anymore. My body had just given up on me. And I'm like, do I keep pushing through on this? And do I not? So I just knew my body didn't have another 90-degree heat day in it.
Avelina was hot last year too.
Dude, I was there.
It was like 105.
Yeah, it was insane. I'm so surprised I even made it tonight. And as I was coming in, what is that? The third loop, and I start falling out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just need a nap. Real quick. But my body didn't have it. I just knew I probably shouldn't have started that race too. And I had the decision. I can go. If I go out right now in this next loop, I'm not going to stop until I've reached the finish because I'm not going to be at mile 80 dying and then say, well, I'm done here, you know?
Right.
But it was brutal and it made me very depressed. I was very, very depressed coming back from that, from that race.
And that was my next question. How hard are you on yourself when you DNF'd that one time?
Oh, it ate at me all year. That was the thing of my nightmares. I know that course in my sleep. I went back. I've ran that race twice since then. And the thing is, my kids were at the finish line the next year when I finished it. And like, I came across like crying. I held up the medal and and the kid that last year was like so disappointed. I like showed it to him and he was kind of like, all right. Like he was not even impressed. Like he was like, I was like, yes, and I like showed it to him, and he was like, all right, like that's what you were supposed to do. Like he didn't even care. Right. And then I went back and I were
supposed to do.
Yeah, I went back and like the next year that I ran it was like a crazy storm. It like hailed. It like had like 30 something mile per hour winds. I kept getting knocked straight to the ground in the wind. I was slipping and sliding in the mud. Like it was terrible, terrible weather. I ended up getting hypothermia and I survived that to finish. And I was like, oh my gosh. And like, so many people were taken off course with hypothermia and people were DNFing and I survived that and finished. And I was like, yes. And he was like, all right. Cool.
Yeah.
Every time I thought you were the king of the badasses,
I'm telling you, there's way more than me. So like you try to say it, I'm like, not even close. Yeah, there are so many more badasses out there. And I'm so happy you hopped on this. You know what I look at and what I take from that is this bar that you're setting for your children, right? The unimpressed bar, right? Through whatever else like comes through. They're just like, well, next time they have a challenge, right? That's nothing.
Anything in life.
They're
Other
like,
than running too. It's just like,
my mom used to do that all the time.
Right.
Okay, this is a challenge.
Look at what she pushed herself through.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, one of my kids, I took him, it was maybe a week after one of my races, and I took him to the doctor and they had a physical. And, the doctor's asking them like, oh, are you active? Do you get, exercise? And they said, and it was one of my kids runs with me sometimes. Mm-hmm. And they asked him like, oh, do you, exercise? And they said, yeah, I run some with my mom. And the doctor said, oh, that's good. She said, I try to run maybe a mile, a couple times a week. And they said, well, that's not very much. And and the kid told the doctor, that's what the kid told the doctor. And the doctor said, well, as you get older, it's hard to get in miles. And the kid told the doctor, well, my mom just ran 100 miles. And the doctor said, well, I'm sure it feels like your mom ran 100 miles, but she didn't. And,
right.
And they said, no, she did. And she got third place in the race. And the doctor looks at me and I'm like all embarrassed. I'm like, because I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, well, yeah, I did. And we leave and I'm like, okay, I know you're proud of me, but maybe let's not put the doctor down and like maybe let's not phrase things that way,
I'm sure it felt like she ran 100 miles. And then honestly, the person in me was like, actually, I did.
Right.
Be proud of it. It's okay. That's good. That's an accomplishment. That's so great.
Next time, let's bring out the buckles too. No.
As you walk away, clinking around and wearing them. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. So, you listen to music on the trails, right now. Like you have a lot of like pumping up anthems. What are you listening to right now?
So every race that I do, I pick a theme song for it. And my kids, which it's never child appropriate. Which is the best part because, you can't listen to child appropriate music if you're on the trail because that's my me time.
You look good. Won't you bang?
Yeah. So I usually phrase that my music that I listen to for me, like at home is one thing. And then my music that I listen to when I run is music that I would not listen to like in my free time. And the vibe that I go for when I'm running is anything that is going to make me feel like a badass bitch is that's the vibe that I go for. So like if it's EDM or if it's like Meg the Stallion or something like that is like, that's what I kind of go for. Like that type of vibe that when I'm out there and I want to like hunt people down or something like that, that's going to get me pumped up. And I call it like my like 2 a.m. music. So if I am like falling asleep, I'm getting sleepy, that's when I put the music on. So I'm not somebody, I usually don't put music on like for the whole race. I put it on in the middle of the night when I'm getting sleepy, I'm getting tired, or like towards the end of the race when I'm like, okay, now I'm going in hunting mode. Now I'm going in racing mode. And that's when I put the music on when I want to focus in and, I want to get pumped up.
I do the same thing. I don't listen on race day. I'm not listening to anything. And then when the adrenaline of the race itself kind of wears off, right? That's when I like throw it on and reminisce on my old days before I had kids. Partying all night. Let's go. Yeah. And you're like, I remember these days. And sometimes I'll catch myself singing off key, echoing in the canyon to whatever song at the top of my lungs, just out there by yourself, going, just hyping yourself up. It's it's fun, dude. I enjoy it. It's definitely a party.
So I wanted to know, as a non-ultra runner, how did you settle on the 100? Like, what about the 100 did you love? Is it like the right amount of pain to, I don't know.
To not pain ratio or something?
So the best way I could explain it, and I have a lot of other ultra runner friends and they have different distances that are right for them. Like I have one friend, she loves the 50K. And what she loves about the 50K is that she can go and come back in the same day, that she really doesn't have to put any like crazy training in. She can just do whatever she wants to do. She doesn't have to do any consistent training. She could just go out and run a 50K whenever she wants and come back the same day, hang out with her family and whatever. Yeah. What I found about the 100 mile and how I knew that was the distance for me is any race I did, even when I did my first 50 miler, which that was my first ultra, was American River 50, is when I ran it, I was not thinking, oh, this is my first ultra, this is my first 50 mile. When I ran it, I was thinking, this is great training for 100 mile. Like that's what when I went into it, that's what I was thinking. This is great training for 100 mile. Then when I ran my first 100K, I was like, this is great training for 100 mile. Then when I ran my first 100 mile, I was like, this is it. And then I was like, I need to get better at 100 mile. Every race that I ran is always, I'm thinking about the 100 miler. So it doesn't matter if I'm racing 100K, I'm thinking, how is this going to better prepare me for my next 100 mile? If I'm racing a 50 mile, I'm thinking, how is this going to make me better at 100 miles? If I'm racing 100 mile, I'm like, ooh, what can I take away from this to make me better at my next 100 miler? And that's how I knew that the 100 mile distance is my distance, because that's all I'm thinking about. So if I'm out and I'm on a 25 mile run, I'm thinking, ooh, good. How is this going to help me in my next 100 mile?
See, I like that, Nick. She set a goal. And then she stopped there.
Goal.
She's
goal
not going to get to the 100 and then go to the 250 or run across all of America.
I haven't completed the 100 yet. My main goal has always been the 100, right? That's why it hurts so much.
You're already planning to run from one end of America to the bottom of America.
I mean, it would be fun.
But hey, I'm all for big goals. And I mean, and you know, I have friends that like just want to do everything. And how do you know what you want to do until you do it? And,
oh God, I mean, don't tell Nick that.
Hey, throw it around everywhere. But I mean, you know,
a little bit more.
This guy tries everything.
I like trying everything. That's why I had such a crazy life in the beginning. So, you know, speaking of setting big goals, right? I think a big goal that you had that you mentioned in our questionnaire, Western States 100, right?
Oh, yeah, baby.
Yeah. So it sounds like everything is going to that, what does getting there represent to you? Like what, if you get there, what does that represent to you?
Western States is everything to me. Like that is the goal. So everything that I do is with Western States in mind. So every race that I do is with that in mind. So every race that I pick, I'm thinking about how is this going to better prepare me for Western States. So for example, like Javelina last year that I ran, I was like, where are my weaknesses? Oh man, I really suck in the heat. And I hate the heat, but Western States is a hot race. So yes. I need to get better at heat. So let me pick hot races so I can work on conquering my fear of the heat and getting better at heat. So Javelina, great. I'm going to run Javelina so I can get better at heat. Then this year I ran San Diego. I ran Cool Moon again, which I ran last year. And I'm going to just pick races at getting better in the heat. So when it's time to run Western States, I know how to better manage myself in the heat. Then this year it was like, you know what? I'm going to pick races with a lot of vert so I can get better at my climbing. So when I get into Western States, I'll know how to better train and manage myself in the vert. And then next year, my plan is to pick races with more altitude and things like that. Yeah. So I know how to, like, my body handles altitude and things like that. So when I get into Western States, I'll know how my body handles that.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's just with all those things in mind for Western States.
Yeah, I hear intentionality, right? And this is something probably in this recent training block that is really starting to click, right? With the DNF of Javelina for myself, coming into this, intentionality was big, right? I started working with a running coach with intent to complete this 100-mile goal, right? And now I'm noticing more and more on these runs, these longer training runs every weekend or every week, intentionality. I am running this because when it gets to the point when I'm in the race, this is what I want to feel. I'm so tired from a full week of weight training and running and sprints and speed workouts that now I'm beat up on this trail run, this long run. I intentionally want to feel this because I know that if I can overcome this and still hold this speed, the intent is there. So I think it's really important to have intention in whatever it is that you do, whether it is the 5K, 10K, half marathon. Intentionality really drives a successful training run. I'll find out in October if the
It all
intentionality
worked,
worked
right?
for me, right? But it sounds like, it's working for you. And this is something that I'm, finding out on my own. And I think it's great. Make me feel a little bit better.
Well, what is your training like? Like, when you're not,
Well, it sounds pretty similar to his, which is, you do your sprints and your weight training and your hill work and things during the week. And then by the time you get to the weekend for your long runs, you're beat up. So you go out and you're tired, which is the whole point, is you go out and you do your long runs on tired legs. And you just kind of muddle through them, which is basically what the ultra is you're showing up with your tired legs and you're hitting the trails and you're, which right now, every race that I have this year has a lot of climbing. So, I'm running Folsom, I'm running Pine to Palm, I'm running Kodiak 100.
Oh, you're going to be there too. So I'll be there with you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
So everything has a lot of vert this year. And so,
how many miles do you put in a week? Like just training?
I would say generally on average, probably about 70, somewhere between 70 to 80 miles. Yeah.
Is that what you do, Nick?
No, like 50 to 60, but she's way faster than me and way better. But I still think it's okay. Like I put in like a good amount of relative effort on these like shorter miles weeks that I'm doing. As we get a little bit closer, I'll probably be at the 75 mile will be my peak week mileage. I would love to. I did 100-mile week one time after watching Andy Glaze, like these multiple things, right, posting out. And I was like, let me just try 100-mile week. This is before I had a coach. I'm like, damn, that's a lot. Even 70, 80 is a lot. It's a crazy time investment. It's a lot on the body. I think if I wanted to probably be a little bit more successful, I probably should add some more miles, but I think
everybody's different too, though, because I have other friends, like I have a friend in particular, he had knee surgeries. And so he just does during the week, he does weight training and he like rides the bike. He does a lot of cross training and he doesn't do like any running at all during the week. And then on the weekend, he'll do like one long run. He whoops my butt at every race. Every race.
These are those natural athletes that you're talking about that you're like, what?
Every race. I mean, we'll run together for a few miles and it's almost like he's just enjoying my company. And then he's like, well, see ya. And then he's gone.
You need to study him. He runs hundreds also?
Yeah. He just ran Western States, sub 24. And 3 weeks before that, he ran San Diego with me because he was not planning on running Western States because he was on the wait list. And then he got in the week before.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, man, just an amazing guy. Now he is my kid's favorite ultra runner. They could care less about me. They prefer him because they said he's faster than me, so they don't have to wait as long for him.
Yeah.
So that's why they like him better.
Oh my god.
So how many races do you do a year, or do you aim for?
I don't have a goal this year. I mean, I'm running a lot of races, more than I normally do. So let's see. I mean, this year I'm running, let's see, I ran one in January. I ran one in March, April. I ran one in May. I ran 2 in June. I paced in July. I have one in August. I have one in September, one in October, one in November. But generally, I do not run that many races. This year, I kind of went a little crazy because my husband was deployed, and I kind of hit the ultra sign up button a lot on deployment.
Nobody here to tell me no.
Pretty much. I kind of was like, oh, that one looks good. Oh, and that one looked good, and that one looked good, and that one looked good. He kind of came back from
deployment. And then I'll go train somebody else. I mean, pay somebody else, right?
Yeah, he was kind of like, what are we doing this year? And I was like, well, yeah. And then even I was not... Folsom 100, I was not planning on doing, but I was running San Diego 100, and the race director for Folsom is Bri Santos, and we traded a lot of miles back and forth together during San Diego 100 in June, and we were chatting, and I was telling him about how like, he was like, oh, you look really good, and I was telling him about, I'm sick. right now because my kids got me sick. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of like struggling right now. I think I'm running a fever. And I was telling him, he was like, well, you look really good. And I said, yeah, I'm good right now. Usually where my race starts to fall apart is in the nighttime. And he said, oh, well, you should come run Folsom 100 because it starts at 7 p.m. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. He was like, yeah, great night training. And I was like, oh, that's intriguing. And he was like, yeah, come run my race. I'll give you a discount. And I was like, oh, maybe. And he was like, yeah, text me after the race. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. And then like on the drive home after San Diego 100, I'm like on my phone texting. I'm like, hey, what's up, Ray? And then before we even got all the way home, I'm like, hey, I'm registered to run Folsom 100.
You got that discount code? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Wow. So most husbands have to come home to like a bunch of Amazon packages. He sees ultra race signups piled up in the inbox, right?
Yeah, and more running shoes.
Oh my gosh, I know, right? So I do kind of, as we kind of wrap up towards the end, I really want to kind of get your take on like, you know, women, especially moms in the running space. Do you feel like they're really underrepresented? And, you know, what's your take on that?
Definitely. I think so many moms, especially like people that I talk to, are really surprised that I run because so many moms, which, you know, I understand, feel like they can't do it, or they say, oh, I wish I could. I'll just have to wait till, you know, my kids are older or my kids are in school I think that we feel it's selfish or it's not okay to make that time for ourselves. But what I found is it makes me a better mom. It makes me a better mom. It makes me a better wife. It makes me a better person. And even my husband gets asked about it a lot. Like, oh man, how are you okay with her being gone for like 5 hours on the weekend? Or are you okay with like, you're alone with the kids? And it's like, well, number one, he's an equal parent. He's not a babysitter. Exactly. So are you okay taking care of your children while she's gone running? Like, well, he should be, number one. But, like, yeah, he's been gone for 7 months and I've been alone with the children and he can't be alone with them for 7 hours while I'm gone running. Come on.
Got him.
Yeah. But what he always says is he's like, yeah, because when she comes back from her run, she's relaxed, she's happy, you know, and she's in a great mood. And, you know, he would never say this, but, you know, sometimes he'll be like, you think you maybe want to go for a run? And that's his way of being like, yeah, a little cranky. Yeah. You should probably go for a run. Or he'll be like, hey, you going for a run this week? You know? So it makes me a better mom. It makes me more relaxed, more patient. So we deserve that time for ourselves, and it makes me a better parent. It makes me a more understanding parent. And it sets a good example for my kids to see, like, I am a person. I'm not just a mom. I'm not just a wife. I am also a person with needs, and I deserve to be able to take care of myself, take care of my health. And that's kind of how I ended up with my ostomy bag, because I was not taking care of myself. I was putting everybody else first, and I was taking care of everybody else. And I mean, I was having health issues for a long time. Yeah. And I was not going to the doctor. Anytime I had a doctor's appointment, something else would pop up for one of my kids, and I would cancel my doctor's appointment to do their thing instead. And then by the time I went to the doctor, it was like, oh, shoot, my health is so bad. And I kind of learned that lesson, like, no, I am also a person, and I also have my health that needs to be taken care of. And I can't take care of anybody else if I'm not taking care of myself. So...
Who in the running community, in the running space, I know you mentioned Sally is a big inspiration. Are there other women out there that you look up to that, you know, you take, you know, kind of lessons and inspiration from?
I would say Sally McRae is probably my biggest inspiration, since she's also a mom, and she, you know, became this professional runner while she was a mom, which is pretty unheard of, because most elite professional runners, either they don't have kids, you know, and they don't become professional runners, you know, later in life, and they're not juggling, you know, things and stuff like that. Also, I love Magda Boulay, and I know her on a personal level too. I run for her diversity team for MeWalk, and she is just such a huge inspiration, on a professional level, but then on a personal level. And she's just so kind, and she just is so dedicated to bringing diversity to the trail world and opening that up and making sure that more women are involved on the trails, and then just bringing more diversity, because there's so many other races that don't run on the trails, whether they're afraid or they just don't see other people of color or people that look like them on the trails. And if you go to a sign up page, or if you go to or something like that, and you see someone that looks like you, you're more likely to be like, oh, okay, I'm welcome here. And I'll go do that race or something like that. And she realizes how important that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so she's really striving to bring that to the trail community.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
What an inspiration.
I want to be mindful of your time, and
I got to ask her one.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I always ask all the runners this. Have you ever had an out-of-body experience, either crossing the finish line or in the middle of a race? Because I know that's something Nick is looking for, is that
spirituality of it.
He's looking for that. Kind of like a hallucination or something like that.
Something that moved you spiritually, right, on a deeper level.
Because a lot of the runners talk about that.
To put it bluntly, right, I've closed off emotion for so long, given my military experience and being a man in this world, right? I feel like I've lost touch with maybe the emotional aspect. So when he says what I'm looking for, more specifically, I ran a marathon hoping maybe I could have a good cry somewhere. And I'm like, oh, the 26 miles didn't do it. Maybe 50, maybe 100 will do it. Right. So I've still searched for this, but we've talked to a lot of people who've had these moving spiritual experiences. Have you had something similar to that?
Oh, I cry a lot when I run. I cry a lot, and I cry. So San Diego 100, which I just did in June, I had taken my kids out of school early to run that. And I took them down there. I had my oldest take her finals early, and we drove down there. I was totally fine. The day before the race, I wake up and I start getting sick. And I mean, I had 100-degree fever, all this stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm still doing the race because I've made this huge investment. Yeah. And I mean, it was a struggle fest, and it was a hard race. And
that course is, I mean, it was a new course this year, but from what I've heard is just, it's already a tough course, right? It's just, very hard.
And that's what people told me. They were like, oh, it's sneaky hard. So I can describe it as basically, I felt like I paid for them to just drain all the riverbeds for me to run through, because it was just, the course was just rocks. Yeah. And when I came across the finish line, all my finish line photos are just me just bawling, just crying hysterically, because I just suffered so much to get to that finish line. And I was crying so hysterically. The race director came up to me and was like, oh, first 100 mile. And I said, and I'm crying, and I'm like, no, I just thought I was going to die. And I was like, I had a hard day out there. And all my professional photos are just straight, zoomed up in my face of just me, just hysterically crying.
And also a cry being sick. So I'm sure it was just
oh yeah. And then I was tore up. I had to just go lay down. My husband had to physically help me change my clothes after the race, because I was just burnt out, and my throat was so raw from just coughing and being sick. I couldn't even eat the last 30 miles. So
dude,
I was in rough shape. And then as I finish and I'm turn my phone back on, all the text messages are congrats. Can't wait to see you do it again in 7 days. And I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot.
Oh my God.
Another one. Oh my God. Yeah,
I forgot about that. Oh no.
That's still happening. Yes. Oh shoot.
So yeah, no, I cry a lot. If I struggle that to get to the finish line, which I've had a couple, that, where I'm I don't know what I'm doing here. That, which is, yeah. Last year at Rio, where I did the back-to-back, where, I felt really great for like the first probably like 85 miles, which I was surprised, doing it 6 days after. And then the fatigue hit and, all these people are passing me. They're like, you're a rock star. I can't believe you're out here. And I was like, I'm stupid. I'm stupid. What am I doing? Whose idea was this? Was this mine? And then
it was the rock star's idea.
Yeah. And then I was just like crying. I was like, I'm so tired. I want to go home. I was just crying and crying. And then when I came across the finish line and people were like, will you do this again? And I was like, well, now that I know that I can.
Yes, I will. As
like in the moment, I was like crying. I was like, I'll never do this again. And then once I finished and I'm like looking at both of the buckles side by side because my kids brought the javelina buckle to the finish so I could hold it up next to the other one. And I was like, well, now maybe.
Dude, that's insane. Yeah. Oh my gosh, what a feat. So one final thought. Is there a message that you have for, women out there, moms out there? One final thought, and maybe just to give them some sort of motivation or just words of encouragement. Is there anything that you could say to them?
Make the time for yourself. You're as important as everybody else. And so just like you schedule time for your kids, schedule time for yourself. You would not cancel an appointment for your kid, or you would not say that something for your kid is not important. I would not cancel on myself.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I really appreciate it. Wait for us for a minute as I close this out.
Amazing.
That's another episode of the Ostrich Running Podcast. I told you, man, I'm nowhere near, dude. There's a whole world and a whole community of people who just inspire me every day, who back-to-back hundreds.
What people can push themselves through.
Yeah,
just amazing.
Just a different breed, man. We're going to get you.
Harder and harder to start walking when I'm running like 2 miles.
Yeah, and then as you get out there, you're feeling like, oh man, there's so many people.
Think about her, and I'm just like, oh my god.
Yeah, please visit the show notes. I will link in Bree's Instagram profile in there, but just a beautiful episode. Strong woman, back to back, just
within 6 days.
A great person. After being sick.
I'm going to go out,
and then I'm over here, and it makes me feel bad about dropping javelina 100, but I'm not going to go into that. Thank you for joining us each week on the Ostrich Running Podcast. We appreciate all your support, all your messages. We ask that you continue to review, comment, share the show. It really helps spread these stories out amongst the community, and I'm sure there's somebody out there that may want to hear any of these messages. But cue,
even if you don't run,
that outro music.
Who says you need to fly to reach the top? Keep beating your block till your feet are hot. Get your head out the sand, join the flock. It's okay to run scared, we enjoy the lie. I'm an odd kid, like an ostrich. I got a pod, kids, here's a topic. Blaze your own trail, don't be cautious. 2 birds, 1 stone's how I rock it. Can't make an omelet without breaking a shell. But they say grew up, now I'm raising hell. Haters gonna hate, yeah, they praying you fail. So put in the work, whether pavement or trail. The grades fell down, but they got to their feet. Run your own race, put this pod on repeat. Shake your tail feather, keep nodding your beaks. Ostrich gang, or you're not my peeps. Who says you need to fly to reach the top?